Nielsen and Attorney General Sessions have attempted to both blame parents for the Customs and Border Patrol taking away their children or cast these stories as one-off incidents. They're not. No matter how the Trump administration attempts to spin its actions, the suffering it is causing is intentional and illegal, and the administration must be held accountable. Federal prosecutors at the border are carrying out Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security draconian zero-tolerance policies since policies were announced in mid-May. 66 children per day, I want to say that again, 66 children per day have been ripped from their families. Shame! Shame! Federal prosecutors are complicit with the Trump administration's plan to criminalize asylum seekers. We cannot let this be the norm. The ACLU has long opposed the federal criminal prosecution of immigrant offenses, and the Trump administration has taken these prosecutions to a new level by using them as tools to separate families in mass numbers. It needs to end right now.
That's right.
All right. So I want to introduce a few people. First, we got Luz Sosa and Rebecca Ariquiello from Citizen Action. Come on up, ladies.
Thank you, Jared. When I say
families.
What is it, families?
Say whatever you want to say.
When I say families, you say we belong together. Families.
We belong together.
Families.
We belong together.
Okay, thank you, Jared. Again, my name is Luz Sosa with Citizen Action of Wisconsin, and this is an issue that is happening right now, that the Trump administration is separating families. It is not right. Say it with me. It's not right.
It's not right.
Infants are being taken from their mothers. Families are being separated, and parents charged as criminals for sheltering their children from violence. These courageous parents are doing the right thing. They're protecting their children the only way they can, by taking them out of harm's way and seeking refugee. They hope from these prosecutions they face in Mexico and Central America. And they're following the law. Say it, they're following the law.
They're following the law.
When they reach the border, they are voluntarily asking agents to consider their request from asylum. The U.S., like every civilized nation, is required to do this by international law. But since Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced his zero-tolerance policy against immigrants, hundreds of children, some are only months old, some are only weeks old, are being snatched up from their parents. The unluckiest was Patricia Gomez Gonzalez. Say it with me, Patricia Gomez Gonzalez. She was a 20-year-old from Guatemala and shot and dead. She was shot dead by patrols. That ain't right.
That ain't right.
I myself, I'm the daughter of immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself. We came to Wisconsin from my native country, Paraguay, when I was 16 to seek a better life. I went to college to graduate school from Marquette University, Milwaukee's Jesuit University, and now I teach economics at the Milwaukee Area Technical College. I'm very proud to be a union member from AFT Local 212.
Yeah.
I also help organize the growing Latinx community across the state of Wisconsin for Citizen Action of Wisconsin. And I now experience that Wisconsin and the United States have a better heart than its current leaders. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. In our hearts, we all know this cruel treatment of children and families is wrong. After all, so many of us, even Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions, come from families that were immigrants once too. Let's say, we are going to win. We will win. We will win.
We will win.
Thank you. And here is Rebecca Ariquiello from Citizen Action.
Hello. The National Day of Action is an opportunity to highlight the moral crisis of the inhumane and cruel treatment of immigrant children and families in immigration enforcement. We hope to achieve the following. We demand that children should not be separated from their families.
That's right. Woo!
And the abuses against those currently in Border Patrol and ICE custody must stop.
That's right.
children should be reunified with family members or safe sponsors as required by law.
That's right.
Children should be provided with attorneys and child advocates to ensure their safety and access to immigration court. Asylum seekers should not be prosecuted.
That's right.
Our laws protect the right to seek asylum.
That's right. That's right.
Trump Deportation Force, ICE, CBP must be defunded so the children and families can no longer be torn apart.
That's right.
Specifically, we ask Congress to push for the end of practices of separating and jailing families. Call on President Trump, DHS Secretary Nielsen, and Attorney General Sessions, the media through social media, letters, appropriation requirements, and congressional hearings. Support the effort to defund family separation in appropriations context and support decreases in funding for families, for immigration and customs enforcement, border protection, and the U.S. Attorney's Office within the Department of Justice. Visit CBP facilities, detention centers, and federal courts at the border. Speak firsthand to the parents who have been separated from their children to hear their stories. We've seen the pictures, they're cruel. Co-sponsor the following legislation: H.R. 2572, Protect Family Values at Border Act, H.R. 5950, S. 2937, the Help Separated Children Act, H.R. 2043, S. 2468, Fair Day in Court for Kids Act of 2018. Appropriations legislation and report languages that would prevent blanket and inhumane family separation practices and track when, where, and how family separations occurs. Families belong together.
Yeah.
Families belong together. Woo-hoo!
Next, I would like to introduce State Representative Jocasta Zemaripa.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. We have a governor in Scott Walker and a president in Donald Trump who are willing to play politics with people's lives. President Trump is enacting unprecedented and cruel immigration policy, and Governor Scott Walker's support of Trump has never wavered, nor has Scott Walker's own anti-immigrant stance. Wisconsin has always been a place that values inclusion, justice, and humanity. We should set the right example for the nation and not enable appalling actions. This is a national day of action for children due to the senseless and cruel policy of President Trump's administration. We know that 2 months ago, the federal government has admitted to losing contact with nearly 1,500 children that they had released to sponsors. We know that DACA was ended under President Trump, and there's been no sincere effort by him or legislative Republicans to pass new legislation. We have 800,000 DACA dreamers in our nation. Nearly 8,000 right here in Wisconsin. And we know that the overwhelming majority of our DACA dreamers, 70% of them, were 10 years old or younger when they came to the U.S. They know no other country but this one, and they came here through no fault of their own. And lastly, let's not forget the blood that is on Scott Walker's hands. When he swept into office in 2010, one of the first things he did is immediately repeal tuition equity for our Wisconsin dreamers who qualified to pay in-state tuition rates at our UW schools and tech colleges. We need to make sure we hold these people accountable. We need to call on Donald Trump to stop this anti-Latino, anti-immigrant, anti-Mexican agenda immediately, and we need to make sure that we hold Scott Walker accountable on Election Day on November 6th. Thank you.
All right, next up is Bevan Christie from LULAC.
Good afternoon. My name is Bevan Christie, and I'm the Deputy State Director for LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. I want to start off by reminding the administration that we are the United States of America, a country born out of immigrants. We will not allow the continued use of fear tactics to prey on our country's most vulnerable communities and dehumanize them. We urge you to stop leading this inhumane charge to separate families. It is simply not right. We want the administration to know that we believe strongly children belong with their families or in the community where advocates can ensure their safety and representation, not lost or unaccounted for in the hands of the U.S. government. These irrational actions will only continue to fuel the division in our country and move our nation further away from resolving our broken immigration system. Whether it's at the border or in detention, some of these federal law enforcement officials cannot be trusted with the care of the children, and their actions must be stopped immediately. Look at the loss of life of Claudia Gomez Gonzalez, who was shot in the head by a Customs and Border Patrol agent when she presented him no harm. She sacrificed herself to come to this country to create a better life for herself and for her family. No one has the authority to take another life. This is an act of hate. I'd now like to read a statement from the LULAC National Civil Rights Chair, Rosa Rosales, and I quote, "What we don't need now is ICE raiding our neighborhoods, schools, and homes under the pretext of looking for immigrant children or agencies refusing to release those children they have in custody. LULAC shall not rest until these children are reunited with their families. We will fight vigorously the use of separation as a form of persecution and the denial of fundamental rights to asylum seekers." End quote. We encourage everyone to call their members of Congress and express their outrage of family separation in a country that seeks to be the beacon of hope for many. We are mobilizing and we will exercise our voting muscle to fight back against injustice and hate. Thank you.
All right, and our final speaker is Vanessa Cardenas from Voces de la Frontera.
Buenas tardes. Vengo a decir lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos, de que la policía está.
So my name is Vanessa, and I'm here to speak about how the police.
Que la policía está trabajando con ICE, están agarrando a las personas en las cortes, donde tienen que escuchar a las personas.
That how the police is collaborating with ICE and actually going to court where people are presenting themselves to be heard.
Yo llegué a este país, soy hondureña, llegué pidiendo un asilo político porque en mi país hay mucha delincuencia.
I came to this country from Honduras asking for political asylum where there is tremendous violence.
Mi familia igual está pidiendo un asilo político porque fue amenazada por la delincuencia de las maras en Honduras, y me gustaría que América escuchara a todas las personas que vienen pidiendo un asilo político con familias.
My extended family is also asking for political asylum because of the violence of the gangs, the Mara, and I want for people in the United States to listen to them.
Mi familia pues fue amenazada y mi hermano las mataron las maras en Honduras, y llegué a este país pidiendo un asilo, pero ahora tengo miedo porque emigración está en todas partes. Soy madre soltera, mi esposo lo tiene emigración en este momento.
So my own brother was killed by the Maras, and I came to this country asking for asylum. I'm single. I'm a mom. I have children, and my husband right now is in deportation proceedings, and I myself am afraid because of the fact that there's so much activism by immigration.
Quisiera que el presidente se pusiera la mano en la conciencia y todas las personas, y que vean lo que está pasando, no negar la ayuda a las personas que vienen pidiendo un asilo político porque no saben lo que está pasando en los países.
I wish that the president would have the consciousness to understand and appreciate what it is that people are living through who are seeking asylum coming to this country.
Y soy miembro de Voces de la Frontera y quisiera de que nos apoyaran más a todas las familias que no tenemos documentos.
I'm a member of Voces de la Frontera, and I'm here to ask for your support for all the families who are undocumented, who are living through this.
Okay.
All right, before we end everything and I introduce our executive director, Chris Ott from the ACLU, I just want to remind people that this isn't a partisan issue. This is not a political issue. This is a human rights. This is an American issue. And the ACLU is fully invested in making sure that human beings are treated with respect and that their rights are accorded for under the law, that they are not being detained illegally. And let's just make sure that we remember that. You know, this is families. This is keeping families together.
That's right.
And if we don't do that, then we've lost our soul as Americans. So thank you very much. And I want to introduce Christopher Ott, who is the executive director of the ACLU of Wisconsin.
Thanks, Jared. And to close things out, I just want to face everybody who's come here today to say thank you. You know, it can seem like all of our problems started when Donald Trump became president, and you know, it's for sure some of them did. But some of the shocking things that we have learned about the treatment of people who reach our borders in the last few months is actually just an extreme example of the way that the United States has treated immigrants for much too long. And you know, just about a week or so ago, the ACLU released a report that detailed these shocking revelations, things like denying medical coverage or medical care to young mothers and their children, threats of sexual assault or actual sexual assault, even running over a 17-year-old boy with a car and then punching him afterwards. Now, that is terrible. That represents a new low. So does the separating families who reach our borders, and that's why the ACLU is challenging it in court. But because these things did not start with Donald Trump, they're not going to just end on their own with Donald Trump either, unless you're with us. And so for all of you who have been working on this for years, you've been right all along, we need you more than ever, thank you. And for everybody who's just gotten outraged about this and involved more recently, we need you to please stay with us and thank you.
So everybody, thank you very much for coming. If you haven't signed in with Cameron here, please do. We're going to move out the entrance so people can do their business here. But thank you. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep getting it done. And I want to thank all the community partners, Citizen Action, State Representative Zemaripa, LULAC, Voces. Thank you. Gracias, Vanessa. Everybody, Micah, all of you. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants belong here.
Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants belong